Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. My name's Chad. They can dive with sports. And welcome to this episode of the NHL update. The trade deadline has come and passed, and the teams are in that final stretch of roughly about 20 games average per team left in the season. Some play a little bit less, and we'll look at some of the trades that just happened over this at the deadline mark and see which teams are looking to make the push and which ones in contention for the playoffs. But before we dive into all that action, if you could, go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me, especially like the content I provide you. It really pleases you two guys. Help approach this channel out. You can also subscribe. Check my analytics. I love you guys review my work. I love you all for doing that. And I mean, if you subscribe, this costs you a dime. It helps me provide more entertainment value for you. Now, looking at the standings around that time frame, just after the trade deadline, and of course with all the other trades, you can see where the lot of teams there are not in contentions were huge sellers. No surprise there. Teams that are in the fight to either win a division, maybe be number one seed in the conference, maybe even play for President's Trophy. Or some big teams that are highly in the market are trying to state their case to try and make a claim for the cup. So we'll go ahead and go over some of the winning franchises over this past weekend, or not weekend, but these trade deadlines. And one of the biggest ones out there is Calgary. They've really started to make that push to make a nice deep run to kind of help add another cup to their collection. And start off with when they added Tyler Toffoli on February 14th, and then they grabbed Kelly Jamcroc on the 16th, and then got Ryan Copper on that trade deadline day for the Blackhawks. To make sure they acquired right shot forwards who solidify a weakness in all three players who fit their style. Right now, they're looking to solidify their stake on the number 2 team in the Western Conference, and right now Calgary's sitting all the marks right there. Another team to really benefit in this tirade of trades is the other side of the Western Conference. Pretty much the team's going to lock up the number 1 seed and looking to lock up another President's Trophy, and that's the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, they didn't really get many big names, but they did acquire a Thuri Lehkonen from Montreal, and when they lost their defenseman Justin Barron for that. And then they picked up Josh Manson, going to help with Nico a physical presence along with the forwards of Nico Strom and Andrew Cogliano. So they pretty much, just add some depth in their positions that kind of help bolster their current position, sitting on top of the Western Conference, top of the Central Division, pretty much right now top of the NHL. Because right now, Colorado looks like the team to beat once again, but let's see if that actually translates to something. Minnesota is a team that right now is in a fight for a playoff position. They're currently sitting second in the Central Division. But their biggest move was getting Marc-Andre Fleury from Chicago. They really kind of bolstered their net-minding abilities. And they also added Jacob Middleton from San Jose, and then forward Nicholas Deslauriers from Anaheim. They got to add more depth to their a decent lineup they got there at Minnesota. So we kind of see that one kind of plans out. And Seattle, you can pretty much say that they are a winner per se. They realize they're not going to pull off the Vegas miracle, make a run for the Stanley Cup in their first season. I think Vegas is going to think about probably be that last franchise, it's a major franchise and making a nice run like that in their first year. But they decided to, we're going to get rid of certain pieces and build on the future. They end up trading off 7 players and getting 10 picks in the next 3 seasons, which is a lot of picks to really go over that one, because I think, trying to find the actual note of how many they got, because it's pretty much like an old fishing thing. If you throw enough, large enough net out there, you're bound to catch something. Yeah, 34 selections within the next three NHL drafts. So yeah, you're definitely bound to at least snag 4 quality players with that matchup. And they actually got a decent player in this, in Daniel Sprong, who in his debut scored a goal. He's actually been part of a couple quality teams that already had a bunch of shooters, and he's a shooter himself. So now he's in Seattle, where he's going to be part of more of the focal point, and they can kind of start building around him, maybe get some younger talent as well to really make a nice 1-2 punch with Sprong. So we see how Seattle kind of goes, but there are aspects of them being any playoff team anytime soon is probably further down the road than the probably previously thought. I thought year 3. We're probably looking more like year 4, year 5 before they start making the playoff runs. But with 34 picks in 3 years, they could make the run after that time frame. So who knows? But Seattle's still a very favored team right now, so we'll see how they continue to make their stride. And out there in the Eastern Conference, the 2 big teams that made the biggest splashes were Florida and Tampa Bay, to really make the battle of the Sunshine State really important. And basically, Florida, their biggest splash was getting Claude Giroux from Philadelphia. This really gives them that really star power to kind of push the Panthers for another Cup appearance. And yeah, they made a Stanley Cup Finals before, they lost to Colorado. Of course, that was 20 plus years ago. It's been a while since they've been there, and who knows? And with that acquisition, it really helps, gives them a little extra firepower. They also added Ben Sherratt and Robert Hagg on the defensive side to kind of give them a little more depth and on the defense. So we'll kind of see how well this one will plan out for the Panthers, who right now continue to lead the charge in the East, but they're not solely sitting on top. And the defending Stanley Cup champions, Lightning, are looking to make a three-peat. First team to do that since the Islanders of the 80s. And they actually got Brandon Hagel from the Blackhawks. As you see, I'm wearing my Blackhawks gear, so I've already mentioned 3 Blackhawks players being traded out to give them, more opportunity to play elsewhere. Let's see what happens with that. And then they also got Nick Paul from the Senators and Riley Nash from the Coyotes. So they're really adding depth to their already potent lineup to kind of see how things kind of go on from there. So it'd be interesting to see that this lineup with these new acquisitions for these teams. I mean, they weren't the only ones that are really being somewhat aggressive. I know Winnipeg made a few good moves. Dallas, Pittsburgh, Nashville, the Rangers. They all made some decent plays to make runs to playoffs. So kind of see how things kind of go from there. And other teams that actually did sell, like Seattle and Chicago. We also got Philadelphia, Anaheim, San Jose, Arizona, and Montreal were all selling for draft picks, basically. So we kind of see how these teams pan out in the next couple of seasons. Now, with these acquisitions, we kind of look at the standings of the NHL. This is the standings basically on the 21st of March, for trade deadline. So in the East, I think it's pretty much set between the 8 teams. With right now the top 3 in the Atlantic is Florida, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. And for the Metropolitans, Carolina, the Rangers, and Pittsburgh. And the 2 wild cards right now are Boston and Washington. Now the closest team to Washington is the Columbus Blue Jackets and the New York Islanders. Both these are quality teams, but I think there's too much ground for them take up, and you have to wait for someone to really, really struggle. And these are some quality teams, so I don't see that one happening. Right now, Florida's the number one team in the East, but they only got that by 2 over Carolina. So, and with it's hard to determine where things kind of end up because Boston, Toronto, at the time when I use these standings, are technically at the exact same point. So they can flip flop, and Tampa Bay's only 1 point ahead of them. And I think Washington's going to find themselves as a wild card team, and not in the top 3 of the Met. So I think it's just them jockeying for position between those 8 teams to find out towards the end of the season. I think for the Jackets and the Islanders, unfortunately, you got those teams right now just skirting away from everyone else. They're kind of left out in the dust. And they got quite good teams themselves. Islanders definitely made a vast improvement from the beginning of the season. But I think it's going to be a little bit too little too late. And they had, like I said, they had to wait for like the Capitals to have, or Bruins, or the Leafs, or the Pens, or the Lightning, or even the Rangers to really have a complete collapse. I mean, if they don't win any games the rest of the year, then you can probably throw in the Blue Jackets or Islanders. And I don't see that one happening. So, like I said, I think the East is set. It's just position-wise, who goes where. Now, out west, that's where things get a little more interesting. Right now, 2 teams are really leading the pack. That's Colorado and Calgary, like I mentioned before. I think these two will be in the division champs. I think Colorado, what they're playing right now, will be the number 1 team in the league. So they look like they'll host another President's Trophy and be cursed by not winning the Cup. It's likely then not lifting the Stanley Cup. It tends to be some type of curse, it seems like. The last team to win both was Chicago. Shocker. But beyond that, I mean, it is an open race for everyone else. Minnesota, Nashville, and St. Louis, I think, have a slight edge on most of the field. But between them, LA, and Edmonton, there's only like 3 points separating those franchises right now. Vegas right now sits at the number 8 slot with 72 points. Right behind them is Dallas. Now, I believe last night Vegas ended up getting shut out by Winnipeg. So Vegas is struggling right now, and they could find themselves outside looking in, which is probably not a position they really want. But there are teams in the hunt in the West. You still have Winnipeg. You still have Vancouver, Anaheim, and roughly San Jose and Chicago. But I think the latter 3 probably won't see anything. I think really Vancouver, Winnipeg, and Dallas is really going to put more pressure on the Golden Knights for that last slot. But strange things can happen. Like I said, Vegas fall apart, and Chicago could just win everything. They're not, but stranger things have happened, and teams have gotten hot, and the strange part, the right time of the year, and some teams struggle the wrong time of the year, and you just see weird flip-flops. But looking at the current standings, I think Vegas may see themselves coming out of this if they're not careful. Edmonton right now is playing where they should be playing at, where everyone kind of expected them, not really expecting them to play at, but they're actually playing in the playoff caliber right now. Probably not in the position where they thought they would be at. They probably thought they'd be sitting on top of the Pacific, not just getting into the top 3 of the division. But I can see them taking at least number 2 away from LA. But right now, LA is playing extremely well. And then with like Minnesota, they'll make sure they'll solidify their position right there at number 2. Nashville isn't. We're a little, like I said, they're bit of a buyer on this trade deadline, so they'll probably go solidify their number 3 position, which leaves St. Louis as a wild card, and I think they more than likely will be also locked in. I think LA's going to be locked in. I think Edmonton's going to be locked in. It's going to be up between Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg, and Vancouver. I mean, those 4 will be battling hard for that last slot, so it'll be fun to watch those teams go at it towards the end of the year. And, it's just a matter of time and to see how this thing kind of goes. And looking at the teams on the outside, you're looking at, we're preparing for next year's draft to see who we want to take. And only time will tell with some of those teams if these upcoming drafts will be more beneficial for them than anything else, especially Arizona and Seattle. With Arizona and their other issues they got going on with that franchise. But that's a different story. And, well, that's basically the update that's happening. Some of the big, like I said, some of the big names is some big teams that won some key matchups or key trades. It was like Florida and Minnesota. Getting some of the big names out there. Calgary, Colorado, and Tampa Bay bolstering their lineup with depth and adding some shooters when they need to really make a deep run to claim at least their divisions and looking for the number one seeds in their conferences. And like I said, Seattle preparing for the future. 34 picks in 3 seasons. I mean, that's just unbelievable that they have that many selections during that time frame, and they're bound to find some gems in those drafts with that many picks. So they're going to make sure that Seattle's going to be making some good runs, and like I said, probably about that 5-year time frame now. But hey, let me know down below what was the biggest surprise this off season, or not off season, but the trade deadline trades. That I didn't mention. I think Braun was like the big name out there. He ended up going to the Rangers, by the way. Do you think with these additional trades, which team now looks more of a playoff champion than previously? Right now, everything's pointing towards Colorado, but I am going to kind of go away from them. I'm still sticking with my preseason pick of Boston. But like I said, everything's still is pointing Colorado's way. You'll just see how that pans out. Let me know down below. While you're there, you can also, like I said, you can like, you can also share with your friends and family. It really helps support this channel. You can also subscribe, like I mentioned before. When you do that, you hit that bell notification, let you know next time I post a video. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.